Florida State is making a heavy push to land a top 10 recruiting class in 2025, hoping to translate an undefeated season and excellent success in the NFL draft into some big wins on the recruiting trail. They sit in a great spot for a lot of the top players at all positions, and they've even landed a couple high-profile predictions recently. So let's talk about them. In our last video, we covered how well the Noles are doing right now recruiting the trenches, specifically the defensive line. And one of the main guys we talked about was four-star defensive lineman Myron Charles out of South Florida. He's a 6'4", 300-pound prospect in the top 120 overall nationally. He's ranked in the top 10 in his position, so absolutely the caliber of player that Florida State needs to be bringing in along that defensive line. And luckily, Steve Wilfong just put in a crystal ball prediction for Florida State to land him. And I think this is probably one of the least surprising in this group, just because it's looked like he was trending to Florida State for a while now. He visits a ton, he loves the staff, and clearly sees a development with defensive linemen. So off to a great start on trench recruiting already. Now, staying on the defensive side of the ball, Florida State also landed a prediction for four-star DB Gregory Zay Thomas. Now, he's from American Heritage High School, which, of course, is where Pat Surtain used to coach. So there's an obvious connection there, plus the obvious development that Pat brings. He holds offers from LSU, Miami, Tennessee, and others, but I actually think this will probably be a fairly low-stress recruitment. It really seems that Florida State is just a ways ahead of the pack here. Now, the DB board is a little bit weird this cycle. I think they took so many guys last year, like Charles Lester, Kai Bates, Ricky Knight, Jamari Howard, and even grabbed a couple guys in the portal. So I think this year they'll be a little pickier there and definitely take less guys than what we saw in 2024. I think that's also why they're attacking the trenches so hard this cycle, to kind of pair with that. So back in the trenches, but on the offensive side of the ball, Alex Atkins and the Noles are absolutely cooking right now. They already have a commitment from five-star offensive lineman Solomon Thomas, the #1 interior offensive lineman in the country. So how do you add to that? You go and you just get the #2 interior offensive lineman in the country to pair with him. And that comes in with five-star Josh Petty. He's 6'5", 262 pounds, so could look for him to bulk up a little bit at the next level, but he's a five-star for a reason. And this recruitment heated up pretty quickly for Florida State, and this prediction was honestly a bit of a shock to me with how early it came. Of course, Florida State has been heavily involved for a while now, but to see things progress in such a way that they're receiving predictions for him in May is a really, really good sign, and I think further proves that Alex Atkins is looking for a statement kind of class. But if that's not enough evidence for you, let's talk about Peyton Joseph, a four-star offensive lineman ranked 107th nationally. This was a guy that was committed to the Florida Gators less than a month ago. But the Savage continued to push for him, and his interest in Florida State has only grown. I believe he's visited campus more than any other prospect in 2025, so a clear indication of where things are leaning right now, and I think once he decommitted from UF, it was a pretty easy prediction to make. So love adding some beef there along the offensive line with a kid who's already over 300 pounds, but even sweeter to snatch him away from a hated rival like Florida. Now, breaking out of the trenches a little bit, let's talk about a running back. Florida State also received a prediction to land four-star running back Byron Louie, also out of American Heritage High School, so teammates with Zay Thomas, who we mentioned earlier. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, and I think was one of the top targets for Florida State at running back in this class. Miami is trying really, really hard to land him. Ohio State's in there too for sure, and I'd say those two are the biggest competition at the moment. But Florida State is slated to get the final official visit for him at the end of June, which I think is also a great sign for the Noles to get a chance to make the final impression. And guys, that weekend of June 21st is setting up to be an absolutely legendary weekend. Really, the whole summer is setting up pretty nice, but that June 21st weekend is going to be insane and probably going to be the biggest recruiting weekend of Mike Norvell's career here so far. So definitely gearing up for all of that. The Noles are off to a great start here recruiting in 2025, and I think as we get into the summer months, it's going to heat up in a big way. I think we're seeing a major emphasis on trench recruiting in this class compared to last cycle. I mean, there's a very good possibility that Florida State lands 2 five-star offensive linemen in the class, and I don't even know when the last time that happened. So all good stuff right now as we get deeper into the cycle. Really hoping Florida State can end up with like a top 8 kind of class this year, if not better. And I absolutely think that's possible, especially if they can keep up this kind of momentum. We appreciate you guys tuning in and talking to Florida State recruiting. If you enjoyed the video and enjoy updates just like this one, definitely drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned on all the big things going on with Florida State football. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Go Noles.